At 56, Uma Thurman finally revealed what Ethan Hawke did that made divorce inevitable. A bride in white walks a New York street on Valentine's Day. Her father on one side, her mother on the other. Those two have not been married since 2005. That was this February. In the 21 years since the divorce, one of those parents has explained what went wrong to the press 6 separate times. The other gave one answer in 2006 and never spoke about it again. That answer is still in print. Nobody has ever read it back to her. Stay with us because the reason she stopped talking is worse than the reason she left. Start with how he describes the beginning of it, because he has described it, and the description should make anyone married to an actor go very still. Ethan Hawke compared falling in love on a film set to playing spin the bottle. He said the intimacy of the work is imaginative, that it turns the temperature up in your life, and that it has no connection at all to the dailiness of real life. Then he said that is the danger of it. The set where it happened to him was Gattaca in 1997, a cold blue science fiction picture about a world where love and children are engineered in advance and nothing is left to chance. Uma Thurman played a woman built to be perfect. He played the man who lied his way into her life. They fell in love making it. Hold on to that word. Dailiness, it comes back. They married in May of 1998. She was 28 and he was 27. Roughly 2 months after the wedding, on July 8th, their daughter Maya was born, which means Uma stood at her own wedding, heavily pregnant, building a family and a marriage in the same season. Here is what he thought he was doing. Years later, talking to Elle in 2013, Ethan said success arriving that young had made the world feel out of control, and that he wanted to stop it spinning so fast. He believed getting married would reduce his variables. His word, variables. And then he added this, quote, "I had no business taking vows that would last more than 2 weeks." He said that out loud about the mother of his children in a magazine. We want to be fair here, because this audience does not need to be told who to hate. A 27-year-old man admitting he was not ready is a normal, human, forgivable thing to say in private, to a friend, over a kitchen table. The question this whole story turns on is not whether he was ready. It is where he chose to say it. Now the marriage. Because for a while it worked, and it worked in public. By 2001, he was in Training Day, opposite Denzel Washington, and that performance got him his first Oscar nomination. In January of 2002, their son Levon was born. In the autumn of 2003, Uma opened Kill Bill, and every woman in America suddenly knew exactly what a yellow tracksuit meant. She was 33, and she had just become the most recognizable action heroine on Earth. 2 careers, both climbing, both requiring somebody to leave the house for months at a time. And by the end of that same year, it was finished. The separation became public in 2003. Their son was not yet 2. Their daughter was 5. And the reporting that followed did not stay on the subject of 2 ambitious people drifting apart. It went straight to a specific place, and it named a specific city, Montreal. Ethan had been shooting a film there. The tabloid version of events, printed everywhere at the time, was that something had happened on that shoot. He was asked about it directly on network television in 2004, and he answered it directly. Quote, "Uma and I did not split up over anybody's infidelity." He added that the 2 of them had a lot of problems long before he ever went to Montreal. "We are going to be careful here, because this part matters." Nothing that supposedly happened in Montreal was ever established. More than one woman's name got dragged through the press in those months, including at least one private person with no career in front of a camera, and none of it was ever proven. He denied it then, and he has denied it since. But the denial is not the interesting part. Look at what he was doing while he denied it. He was talking. Because the other name attached to this story is the one everybody remembers, and it is the one that turned this divorce into a punchline that outlived the marriage. Ryan Shaw Hughes had worked as a nanny for Maya and Levon during a film shoot. She left, went back to Columbia to finish her degree, and by Ethan's account, about a year after the divorce was final, the 2 of them ran into each other in a park. In 2009, he laid the whole timeline out to The Guardian. He said she was hired through his literary agent, that she was only there briefly, and quote, "There were never any scandalous thoughts or actions back then." He said his marriage came apart under pressures that had nothing to do with her at all. They married in 2008. They have 2 daughters together. By every account since, it has been a good marriage. And you can believe every word of that, and still understand exactly why the magazine rack at the grocery store decided the story was that a man left his wife for the nanny, because the shape of it was too neat. A famous marriage ends, and 3 years later, The man marries the woman who used to look after the children. That is the version that stuck. That is the version still being repeated at checkout counters in 2010, in 2015, in 2020. He has spent 20 years pushing back on that version. She has never once been asked to. Now picture the other side of it, because nobody ever does. Somewhere in the winter of 2004, there is a woman in a house in New York with a 5-year-old who is old enough to hear things at school and a toddler who is not old enough to be left with a stranger. She has a movie coming out. She has a press tour where every second question is going to be about her husband. She has photographers on the sidewalk, and she has to decide, that year, once, what she is going to say about all of it for the rest of her life. She decided almost nothing. Hold that, because it is coming. First, though, we need to show you the strangest fact in this entire story, and it is the one that almost never makes it into a video about these two. While the marriage was ending, Ethan Hawke was writing a screenplay about a marriage ending. The film is Before Sunset. He wrote it with Julie Delpy and Richard Linklater. And the three of them brought their pages together in 2003, the same year the separation became public. His character, Jesse, is a man trapped in a marriage that has gone dead on him, walking around Paris with the woman he probably should have chosen instead, saying every unsayable thing out loud. The public record on the film states it plainly. Portions of that script were inspired by Ethan's separation from Uma. It premiered in Berlin in February of 2004. He did the press for it while the infidelity stories were at their loudest, and reporting from that junket describes a man visibly in pain in a hotel suite, answering questions about his marriage in between questions about his art. And then that film did the one thing nobody sitting in that hotel suite could have planned for. It was nominated for an Academy Award, Best Adapted Screenplay. The nomination came in 2005. The same year the divorce was finalized, he took the worst year of their family's life, shaped it into 80 minutes of the finest dialogue of his career, and carried it to the Oscars. He got applause for it. He got a nomination for it. She got Kill Bill Volume 2, in which she plays a woman whose life is destroyed at her own wedding, and nobody wrote a single thoughtful essay about what that might have felt like to shoot that spring. One of them turned the divorce into work. The other one just had to live inside it. So here is the first real answer to the question in the title of this video. What did he do that made the divorce inevitable? He talked. And he did not only talk about himself. In 2004, explaining the collapse to the press, Ethan offered a theory about why it had happened. He said it is very hard for any couple when both people are ambitious, and that their love got beaten up by it. Fair enough. Plenty of people would nod at that. But then, according to the New York Post's account of those remarks, he went further. He wondered aloud whether it was simply too hard to be married to a woman who wants to be a movie star. He allowed that she had every right to want that. Read that again. In the middle of a public divorce, with reporters on the sidewalk, the explanation offered to the world for why this marriage failed was her ambition. Hers alone. And here is the thing about a sentence like that. It does not have to be cruel to do damage. It gets printed once, then it gets quoted, and then it becomes the frame. For 20 years, every article about this divorce has carried a faint shadow of the idea that Uma Thurman wanted too much. She was 33 with 2 small children and a career she had been building since she was a teenager. Now, what did she say? Almost nothing. Which brings us to the second piece of the answer, and honestly, to the reason we wanted to make this video at all. She sat down with Parade magazine in 2006. It is one of the only times she has ever spoken about it. She would not name him. She referred to him only as her children's father. She said she needed to keep the peace and that she had not said one mean thing about him and was not about to start because it was terrible for her family. Then she gave the answer. Quote, "I'm just another American woman who was in an unfulfilled marriage that fell apart." That is the reveal. That is the entire confession, delivered 20 years ago. And it went absolutely nowhere because it was not a scandal. There was no other woman in it. There was no villain in it. There was nothing in it a headline writer could use. She looked at a marriage that had been front-page news for 2 years and called it an ordinary sadness of the kind that happens to ordinary women. Then she said that if she saw one more headline about it, she would gag. That was her last word on the subject. She was 36 years old. And now go back and pick up the word we asked you to hold on to. Dialiness. His word for the ordinary daily part of a life that a film set has no connection to. He used it to describe what makes falling in love at work so dangerous. Look at what she chose instead. Unfulfilled, that is a dailiness word. That is a word for the years, not the incident. It is what a woman says when she has already decided the story is not going to be about one bad thing somebody did on one bad night, because there are 2 children in the house who will one day be old enough to look it up. He explained the marriage with the language of a movie set. She buried it with the language of a Tuesday. If this is landing with you, subscribe before you go any further, because we tell these stories from the wife's side every week, and there is more of this one coming. And before anyone says she stayed quiet because she had nothing to say, or because she was too fragile to say it, we need to look at what happened 12 years later. On February 3rd, 2018, Uma broke a silence. Not about her marriage, about Hollywood. In a New York Times piece by Maureen Dowd, she made detailed allegations about how she had been treated by one of the most powerful producers in the business, and she talked openly about the car crash on the set of Kill Bill that injured her. She named names. She held nothing back. It was one of the most talked about interviews of that entire year, and on why it took her so long. She said this, quote, "So what you really saw was a person buying time. So understand what we are actually looking at. This is not a woman who cannot speak. This is a woman who, when it came to something she believed the world needed to know, walked into the biggest newspaper in America and said it. She simply decided, one time in 2006, that her marriage was not on that list, that her children were going to grow up in a world where their mother had never publicly called their father anything at all. She had the microphone the whole time and never once pointed it at him. And now we get to the part where we would like your verdict, because this is where the story turns." In September of 2025, Ethan Hawke gave a cover interview to GQ. He was 54 years old. The divorce was 2 decades behind him, and he talked about it. Quote, "It's humiliating. It's almost humiliating even when they're saying positive things. Humiliating for him." Then, in November of 2025, he sat down with the Los Angeles Times and said this, quote, "I vowed to my kids so many times not to talk about the divorce." He said that in an interview about the divorce, 10 weeks after giving a magazine cover story about the divorce. We are not going to tell you what to make of that, because you are already making something of it. But we will lay out the arithmetic, because the arithmetic is the story. Across 21 years, one of these 2 people has explained this marriage to the press in 2004, in 2006, in 2009, in 2013, in September of 2025, and again in November of 2025. The other one explained it once, in 14 words, and never again. She kept the vow he keeps announcing. That is what he did, not the nanny, not Montreal, not the tabloids, which were going to be vile no matter what either of them did. What he did was take a private failure and enter it into the public record in pieces, year after year, with his name on it and hers underneath it, while she carried the same story in silence, so that her children would never have to read their mother calling their father a liar. Remember the variables? He said he got married to have fewer of them. 21 years later, that marriage is still something he is working out in public. So where did the 2 roads end? Ethan is 55. He has been married to Ryan for 18 years. In March of 2026, he was up for a Best Actor Academy Award for Blue Moon, a film his wife helped produce. By any measure, that is a good life, honestly built, and we are not going to pretend otherwise. Uma is 56. She never remarried. She has 3 children. She has been working steadily in the Old Guard 2 in the Dexter world, in a new film she premiered at a festival this spring. And she once told People magazine that her children conduct themselves with a lot of dignity and respect for others, and that it is all a parent could dream of. Both of the children she had with him ended up in the same business that took their parents apart. Maya is on one of the biggest television shows in the world. Levon has been quietly building a film career of his own, and neither one of them has ever had to sit through an interview where somebody read them a quote from their mother about their father, because there is no such quote. She made sure of that when they were 5 and 2 years old, and she never went back on it once. Not in a bad year, not in a good one. Then on Valentine's Day of 2026, she put on a pale blue dress and walked her daughter to her wedding, with that girl's father on the other side. No statement. No interview afterward. No essay about closure. She showed up, stood in the same frame as the man who has spent 21 years explaining her, and let the photographs do the talking. That is the whole thing. She never got a headline for it, because dignity does not photograph like a scandal, so we want to hear from you tonight. He says the attention was humiliating. She said she was just an ordinary woman in an unfulfilled marriage. After everything you have heard, who do you think actually protected those children? Tell us in the comments, and tell us where you are watching from, because we read every single one. And there is one more you need to hear next, because Maya Hawke has said some remarkably blunt things about growing up between these two people, and it is not what you would expect. 20 years of silence, and she never once used it as a weapon.